Do you have a dress that would look even better if it had a slit up the leg? Maybe just to break up all the color. I'm going to show you how in this video to sew a slit anywhere on your dress so that way you can spice things up. Hi, my name is Abby and I help absolute beginners start sewing clothes they love. So if that's you, be sure to like and subscribe below to make sure you're notified when I post new videos. Then let's jump into how to add a slit anywhere on any dress or skirt. Step one is figuring out where exactly do you want the slit. So I want mine right in front of my left leg, so somewhere in this area. And then once you find out side to side where you want this, you need to figure out how high you want the slit to be. So mark that with a pen on your dress, or somehow, you don't have to use a pen, but somehow mark this point where you want the top of the slit to be on your dress from the right side, preferably with something removable so we don't leave any permanent stains, okay? Once you have that marked, it's time to take the dress off and head to the sewing table. We're going to draw a straight line from the hem all the way up to the point that you marked. And then we need to measure this so we know how long the slit is. Once we've measured this, we need to grab some extra fabric. So this can be matching fabric if you have leftovers. Say you made this dress and you have more fabric. You can buy matching fabric when you go to the fabric store, or you can find some wide ribbon, okay? So we just need some extra material that's in a similar color and a similar feel to the dress. So if your dress is really flowy, you don't want to use a hard, stiff fabric. And vice versa. If your dress is really hard and stiff, you don't want to use a flowy fabric. So find something that matches the material of your project, okay? Once you have your material, you're going to need to cut out a rectangle. The rectangle should be the length of your slit plus 1 inch or 3 centimeters. And then it should be 2 inches or 6 centimeters wide. Or if you find 2-inch wide ribbon, you can use that and just cut it to length. Okay? Once you have your rectangle, we need to draw a line down the center going the long direction down the rectangle, okay? So draw that all the way down, and you can draw it on both sides. You'll see in the next step what we're using it for. Then we're going to come to one of the short ends and measure down 1 centimeter or half an inch and draw a T going across that center line. Okay. Now that we have this T shape marked, we're ready to bring our rectangle and our dress together. The T shape that we just marked, we want to lay the cross section where the two lines cross each other right at the top of your slit. Okay, so we want to line up there. And so we have that 1 centimeter or half an inch above the slit. And then we have the center line and we line it directly on top of the line that we drew on our dress. Now, try to be careful with this. If you're not perfect, it'll be okay. But we want to try to be as precise as possible. And make sure that you only pin through the rectangle and the front of your project, not through all 3 layers, not to the back. That would be a problem. Once you have this pinned in nice and neat, we're going to head to the sewing machine. You'll see here that I'm sewing with the edge of my presser foot lined up with the center line that we drew on the rectangle. I'm doing this because it's the easiest for me to follow, but you can actually sew closer to this line if you want your slit to be a little bit narrower. You'll see in the future steps how all of this plays out, but just know that if you come back to this step, you can sew closer to that line if you want to. Now, once we reach the top of the slit, what we're going to do is stop at that T line that we drew, the second one. And you're going to put your needle down, raise your presser foot, and turn the whole project 90 degrees. We're going to put the presser foot down and sew across to the other side of the center line. Once we get here, we're going to put the needle down, raise the presser foot, and turn the whole project 90 degrees again. Put the presser foot down, and then we'll sew down to the bottom hem again. Once you're done sewing, you should have a rectangle that looks something like this. Now, be very careful with this step, but what we're going to do is take our scissors and we're going to cut down that center line. Now, make sure again that you're only cutting the rectangle and the front of your project, not the back. We don't want to slit on both sides, just one. So we're going to cut down this, and when you get towards the top of the slit, we want to stop about 1 centimeter or 1/2 inch away from the top of the slit. And from this point, we want to make a V shape from that point out to the corners that we just sewed. Then we're going to cut to the corners. Now it's very important here that we cut to the corners, but not through them. Don't cut the stitch line, just cut as close to it as you can. Okay? Once this is cut, we're going to take the rectangle and we're going to fold it away from the project. Actually, let's head to the sewing table and see what this looks like. So we want to take this rectangle that we've sewn on and pull it away from the project and then iron. Okay, this is going to give us a really nice crisp fold in the next step. So iron this all the way along one side and then repeat on the other side. Once both sides are ironed, we're going to take the whole rectangle and flip it all the way to the inside of our project. Okay, now that it's all the way to the inside, we're going to press. And this is going to be much easier if you pressed it in the last step. Everything is nice and crisp already. When you fold it, this should be very easy. Okay, so fold that back, iron it down. Okay, repeat on the other side. And now we just need to tug the top of our rectangle until it's also laying nice and flat. If you can't get your rectangle to lay really flat, most likely because you didn't cut that V-notch as close to the stitch line as you could. So if you can't pull this flat, try seeing if you can snip just a little bit closer to those corners. Okay? Once you get everything laying nice and flat, it looks so nice. Okay, we have just a few more steps and your slit is done. So now what we have here is the slit from the front is finished and looks great, but in the back, we have these raw edges around the rectangle that we cut out. And if we don't do anything, they're going to start come frayed and undone and looking really messy on the inside. We don't want that. So to avoid this, we're going to take the top edge of this rectangle and fold it down under itself and iron. Do the same on both long sides all the way down. Iron all of this, and if it's not staying really nicely in place, you can also pin it. Okay? Once you have the top and both sides pinned in place, we want to come down to the end. And here at the end, we want to snip this a little bit shorter if it's long. And then we're going to fold it under, just like we did the top, and hide all of this tail underneath the long edges. So tuck it under there, iron it in place, pin it. It looks so neat now. The last step we have to do is sew all of this in place. So back at the sewing machine, we're going to sew along this edge and make sure that you're sewing away from the slit, not close to the slit. Okay, we want to make sure that we hold this folded edge down nice and secure. So we're going to sew all the way down one long side. We get to the top, stop, put your needle down, raise your presser foot, turn the project 90 degrees, sew across the top. Make sure your needle is down, raise your presser foot, turn 90 degrees again, put your presser foot down, and then sew all the way to the end. And ta-da! You have added a slit here in the front of your project. Now you will notice that the top of my slit is a square. It's a little bit wide. I actually have no problem with this. I kind of like it. But if you would like a smaller shape at the top, something not quite so wide, you can, again, like I said before, sew closer to that center line when you sew the rectangle around. Okay, that will give you a smaller opening at the top of your slit. I hope that this helps you make all of your skirts and dresses exactly as spicy as you want them. If you would like to start making your own clothes, not just upcycling pre-existing ones, be sure to check out down in the description. I have a free guide on how to get started if you're absolutely brand new to sewing your own clothes. And I have online classes, and I would love to help you start creating the clothes of your dreams. So that help you, it's down below. Otherwise, here are some other really nice beginner-friendly videos for you to check out. Happy sewing!